Hello, fourth and fifth graders. We are now on chapter 5 of Sheep by Valerie Hobbs. And last week, the goat man, he passed away. And now the dog is trying to find a new owner. And he kind of is happy to be rid of the goats. Remember, he didn't really like the goats that much. Life was easier without the goats. I could travel faster, go where my nose took me, get away from that highway. But it wasn't easy for long. The first day on my own, I stopped in at a few farms, poked around looking for some lunch, too proud to beg, scared a chicken off her nest and grabbed an egg, smashed the thing into my mouth. It took me forever to lick the shell off. Sticky darn thing, our eggs. Weak with hunger, I went along a dirt road, then a paved road, and came last to a little town. It wasn't much of a town. There was just a couple of streets, one street straight down to the water. At the water's edge, men unloaded nets filled with silvery things into a big wooden boxes. Curiosity and hunger made me brave, and I went to investigate. The men paid me no attention. They had their work to do. They were big and loud, and they laughed a lot. In their thick rubber boots and yellow slickers, they slogged through the puddles, cold enough to make me shiver. I hung back as long as I could, but I had to see what it was in those boxes. It was sort of like a difference between sheep and goats. The stuff in the boxes didn't look like food, but it smelled like food. One box had a bunch of spiny red things with mean-looking pinchers on their paws. I left those alone. Another box had slimy silver things piled on top. I sniffed the side of the silver thing with a dead, staring eye. It reminded me of the creatures in the pet shop, only a whole lot bigger. Hey, what you doing there? You a fish dog? I looked up, ready to bolt, but the fisherman was dog people. You could tell right away. He knelt and gave me a nice rub down. I had to get back to that fish. You want some cod? Is that it? Okay, here you go. The fisherman grabbed the fish I'd been sniffing and slapped it down on the dock. Then, with a sharp knife, he slit the thing right up the middle. Out came all of this squishy stuff. Off came the skin. The fisherman laid a piece of the white fish meat in his palm and held it out to me. I sniffed it. It wasn't bad, so I gobbled it up. The fisherman laughed while I ate the rest of the fish meat. This here's a fish dog, he said to the others. Ever see a dog who liked fish this much? Well, I was hungry as all. I'd have eaten the red spiny things if that's all there was. Back on the road, I lived on that fish for a couple of days. Don't know how I held out. Proud, I guess. I'd seen skinny homeless dogs that roamed the streets in search of garbage, strays, but I wasn't one of them. I wasn't a stray. I was a border collie of distinctive lineage and search of employment. They knew it too. Oh, so you're too good for us, huh? Their eyes would say. Well, you just wait. They were right, of course. Life on the open road was a brave adventure, but only if your belly was full. Then you had the strength to explore, to go any old place your feet and curiosity could take you. But if you were hungry, life was just a search for food. You couldn't think about anything else. You couldn't enjoy a good romp with a pal you just met along the way, or play tag with the kids in the park, or savor all the rich odors of the great outdoors. Your nose had a single purpose, and that was to find food. After a while, it didn't even matter what kind. By the third day after the fish, I had found myself down by the railroad tracks. I'd had enough of being chased away from places where food smell was the most enticing. Kitchens, restaurants, family picnics. I've been hanging around people acting all pitiful. After a while, it wasn't an act. Shoo, the people would say, flapping their arms. Shoo! At first, I didn't understand. I thought they meant the things that they wore on their feet. The goat man worried about his shoes all the time. You're lucky, Shep, he said one time. You got them permanent kind. Well, my permanent shoes are getting awfully weary, but my belly wouldn't let them rest. I don't know what I expected to find down on the tracks, but except for crickets, at least it was quiet. And there weren't any people to shoo me on. I nosed my way along the wooden part. Things had died there. Things that had once had fur lay smashed and drying in the sun. My first thought when I heard the train whistle was of my mom and dad. I guess because it's lonely, that sound, downright mournful. And then I saw the train approaching, pulling its many cars, blowing clouds into the sky. Then the whistle again and the chugging of that great big engine, and the train went screaming by. I trotted alongside the tracks until I heard people talk. I wasn't in the mood for humans, but humans had all the food. Unless you were willing to kill, and I wasn't. You had no choice but to beg. You could act like you didn't care whether or not they shared their food, or you could try and charm them out of it. It came down to the same thing, begging. The goat man wouldn't have done it. I knew that. But then he had all the goats. Two raggedy looking men were sitting on a log in the middle of the weed patch. One was small and skinny, and the other was as big as a horse. As soon as he saw me, the big one yelled, "Look, Snatch, a dog!" The skinny one was busy pushing a threaded needle through a shoe, just like the goat man had used to do when his shoes fell apart. "Quit your hollerin'," he muttered. It's a dog," yelled the big one. He got up and came lumbering out of the weeds toward me, his arms outstretched. I let him beat on me a little while. Well, it was his idea of petting. He got down on one knee and started pounding me with those big old hands. He smelled pretty awful. But he smelled like chicken, too. Fried chicken. I was so hungry I licked the grease off his chin. Good doggy, nice doggy. Hey, Snatch, can we keep him? Can we keep this dog? Snatch's eyes were real tired looking, red rimmed and watery. He looked at the two of us and shook his head. Quit hollerin'. Okay, okay, Snatch, the big guy whispered. Even his whisper was big. Can we keep him then? Come over here and try this on, Snatch said. He laid the old black shoe on the ground. The big guy got up. That's when I got a good look at what stunk was so bad was his feet. He stuck one big foot into the shoe and headed back toward me. Ain't you gonna put the other one on? Huh? Oh, yeah. He shoved his other foot into the other shoe. He can help us, Snatch, he said. The dog can help us, you know. We can get stuff from the store. The guy yelled all the time, even when he tried not to. It made the one called Snatch squinch up his face every time. Snatch took a good hard look at me, scratching his whiskered chin. I wagged my tail and cocked my head in the way people seem to like it. Looks hungry to me, Snatch said. What we gonna feed him? He can eat my food. Quit your hollerin'. The big guy, Hollerin' I guess was his name, dug into a cloth bag and pulled out a hunk of chicken. Here, doggy, he said. What you think you're doing? It was Snatch who was yellin' this time. Do you think chickens growin' on trees? That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, not to Hollerin' either, by the look of his face. You forgot, Snatch, where's that cigar we were smoking yesterday? Halloran dug into his big bag again, and out came an old brown chewed up looking thing that he passed over to Snatch. Snatch stuck it between his lips, then he struck a match, touched the end of the cigar with it, and sucked in some air. Did that thing ever stink worse than Halloran's feet? Snatch began to cough, and then he passed the cigar over to Halloran. Well, I'd watched people smoke cigarettes before. Cigars were more or less the same, only the coughing was worse. The goat man said that he had never understood why people smoked, but I did. It was to make the clouds. They'd get this dreamy look in their eyes sometimes as the smoke rose up, and that's how you could tell. Still, it was strange. The goat man said it was like taking poison, and he was never wrong. After they finished smoking and choking, Snatch and Holleran spread some coats on the ground and lay down. So did I. By the smell of it, Holleran's pack still had food in it. I was going to stick close and see if he'd give me some more. After a while, Holleran sat up and stretched. Let's go get some chocolate milkshakes, he yelled. Can't you let a guy sleep? Snatch rolled over. Then he got up and peed in the bushes. Holleran, did you two take to marking the place? Holleran kept on and on about milkshakes, and Snatch kept yelling at him to stop talking. After a while, Snatch gave in. Okay, let me see how much money we got. He dug into his pocket and came out with some paper money and some coins. This is it, he said. It's all we've got left. Holleran hung down over Snatch's hand. Enough for a chocolate milkshake? Snatch frowned at the little pile of money. It is, he said, if we don't buy any supper, but you don't care about that, right? I don't care about supper, Holleran said, shaking his big head. I just want a chocolate milkshake. You just want a chocolate milkshake, Snatch said. He sighed and stuffed the money back into his pocket. Oh, all right. Come on, then. He slung his pack over his shoulder, and Holleran did the same. I think he forgot all about me then, but I trotted along behind him, keeping an eye on that pack. It wasn't a long walk for that milkshake, and Halloran never stopped yelling about it until we got to the place where they made him. Then he slurped it down so fast. Well, I hope you're satisfied, Snatch said. We gotta get us some stuff for supper now. You ready? I'm ready, Halloran said. Then his big, soft-looking eyes got wide. And the doggy's ready too, aren't you, doggy? Might as well name the mutt, Snatch said. You can't keep calling him doggy. People won't believe he's yours. They'll think you're something's fishy. Then what? Did you think about that? Halloran's mouth hung open. Well, he thought about that. Spot, he said after a while. That's what I'm going to name him. Now, where'd you ever get a name like that? Snatch said. He began to laugh and cough and pounding his skinny chest with his fist. 'Cause he's got this spot, Halloran yelled. He's got this big white spot on his tail. Well, ain't you one smart fella, Snatch said. And that's the end of chapter 5. Now we're going to see this poor dog is stuck with these two crazy people. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the book, and we'll be on to chapter 6 next week. Remember, you guys can come to the library anytime between Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 3:30. And on Fridays, I'll be there till noon if you guys want to come get a book. All right. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you soon.